Welcome home, brave hollows. I'm Ash, this is AshQuest, and today we're going to be unboxing and taking a look at Dark Souls, the board game, the Sunless City core set. This is the newest offering from Steam Forged Games, based on FromSoft's seminal Souls-like, indeed, the very progenitor of all Souls-like genre games, Dark Souls. It is for 1 to 3 players, ages 14 and up, and a session can take anywhere from 2 to 2.5 hours. This new core set addresses a lot of the complaints and tweaks that the community had in mind, which means that the rule set included with this box should be fully compatible with all of the previous released core sets and the expansions, and there are a lot of them in the Dark Souls, the board game universe. Too many, in fact. No, it's not opinion, it's fact. There's too many. There's too many. In the past, the Sunless City was the shining jewel of Lordran, where sacred spires and legions of knightly orders were bathed perpetually by golden light. Yet, Lordran was doomed to slow decay. In the current age, the Sunless City survives, shrouded by false light, an illusion hiding the deceit of an empty throne. The inhabitants remain as lonely spirits, hostile to intruders and unaware of either the tragic fate of the world or their bleak existence in the ashes of a dead kingdom. The game comes with 29 unique encounters and everything needed to play: a herald, a pyromancer, and a warrior. 3 hollow soldiers, a mimic, 3 crossbow hollows, 2 silver knight swordmen, 1 sentinel, 2 silver knight great bowmen, the executioner Smough, dragon slayer Ornstein, and a titanite demon. It also comes with 4 double-sided game tiles, 3 character boards, 200 tokens, a campaign dashboard, a rulebook, 15 dice, 192 cards, and 2 health dials. And as in previous sets, to be successful, you must work together, explore places once bathed in golden light, now lost to shadows, and defeat your enemies by learning their attack patterns and weaknesses. But be careful. If a character dies, the game doesn't end, but there will be a cost. If even one of you falls prey to the city's hollowed inhabitants, the whole party must return to the bonfire, and each encounter resets. Use your resources sparingly, learn quickly, and prepare to die. So when I say that the rule set has been upgraded and addresses things that the players of previous sets complained about, not to end my sentence on a preposition there, I mean that this new core set would be worth getting to anybody who loves or think they would love the Dark Souls board game, or maybe tried the Dark Souls board game in a previous set and decided it wasn't really for them, but it could be if only certain things were changed. I have another video where I unbox and take a look at the painted world of Ariamis already up. I'll try to remember maybe to link it in the description below, or you can just use the search function on the channel, but I complain a little bit about Steam Forged Games pricing. I think they tend to way overprice their games, and yes, a lot of their games come with a lot of plastic and a lot of cards, and the presentation is beautiful, and the license is definitely there to warrant a higher price. But the reason that I think they tend to overprice pretty much everything they make is because they are constantly running sales on just about everything they make. I was able to get this game, which has an MSRP of $120, not that it's going to be sold anywhere for that price, probably more like $80 or $90, for $24 during a deep sale. And this is probably the lowest this game has ever been in particular. But when you see sales this frequently on products, and Bard Sung is probably a better example, it frequently goes on sale for about $50. Then you get it in your head that you don't need to ever pay full price for a Steam Forged Games game. You should just wait for a sale. All their exclusivity and stretch goals, and this is only available on our website, be damned, just wait for a sale. And I have the same complaint with anybody who makes software or anything, and trust me, I'm not complaining about getting something for a cheaper price, but I do definitely wish companies would price their things more accordingly so that they wouldn't have to rely on sales, because that means that it was probably too high to begin with. Now, if somebody from SFG wants to comment below and say, yeah, whenever we run sales, we take a loss, you don't have the reasoning down at all, Ash, then I will concede. We have our encounter boards here, and as the box says, they are double-sided. They represent different spaces in Anor Londo, although with only 4 double-sided boards, you're not getting a really big representation of everything in Anor Londo. You're getting a couple of key, very large rooms, and that's about it. And my complaint specifically with the Dark Souls games is that, I should back up, the reason I say that there's too many, which seems like a very silly thing to say in a world where people like you and I, if I may be so bold as to assume, we like collecting these board games. We like when IPs are successful and when they spawn multiple variations of new expansions and things to go out, further out, expand the player base, expand the community. expand the mechanics and playability of the game itself. Yes, love all of that. However, with a beloved property like Dark Souls, there was no reason to milk this so much as to take each individual area and make an entire board game based on it. It would have been so much cooler to see Dark Souls represented nearly as a whole with one base game, and if that meant changing it to where it didn't exactly play like this, then so be it. Then your expansion would just have really covered all of the DLC of Dark Souls, and you wouldn't have had to license such high quality art only to use it in was this licensed art, I wonder? Sorry, I had to clear my throat like 10 times. This game comes with a campaign board. You will go along this track, and once you hit the specific boss battles, you will not draw from the encounter deck. Instead, you will just play the boss battle indicated by that spot on the track. And yes, this campaign board does pretty much mimic the ones in the other core games. So if you are trying to cut down on all the stuff you have to carry, you just need one of these. I didn't look at the finer details, so I could be wrong, but the Painted World of Ariamis also has 29 encounters, so I'm pretty sure you can just reuse this exact same board, and it's worth noting, it's got the exact same artwork on it. There's our Firekeeper, there's Andre the Blacksmith in a scene that I don't think is actually in any Dark Souls game. This is the Firekeeper from Dark Souls 3. I don't know why she's here, because none of this has anything to do with Dark Souls 3, except for the fact that a lot of these places you can encounter in Dark Souls 1 are also in 3. They're just more converged. Obviously, they're linked, but you're not going to meet the Firekeeper as she is in Dark Souls 1. We have a minimum amount of resources here. It's enough to play the game as it's meant to be played, yes, but I have to say, I got this at a steal for $24 USD, disregarding the fact that I had to pay shipping to the US. It still wasn't that much. I got the Sunless City and the Painted World of Ariamis for like $70-something after shipping. That's an incredible deal. However, there is no way I would ever have paid MSRP. Did I not cut this tape? I did not. I need a knife. I'll be right back. Okay, we've got a knife. Man, unboxing Dark Souls, the board game, really is the Dark Souls of unboxing board games. By the way, if you're not familiar with Dark Souls in the slightest, I highly recommend Elden Ring, the video game, and if you like that, then all of the FromSoft games will be much more accessible to you. Or if you're a Dark Souls veteran, then you already know what Dark Souls is. You don't need me explaining it. Love the color that they give their heroes, their hero miniatures. Our two warrior types, very suitable for the death-infused adventure they're about to go on. And the pyromancer. I know, she doesn't quite look like a pyromancer, I get that, but pyromancers in this game are a little bit different. Everybody in this game is a little bit different. The sorcerers all carry bucklers and backup swords. That was the warrior, and the herald, the pyromancer. The hollow soldiers will plague you throughout this game, or at least some version of the hollows. The crossbow hollow has a bone to shoot at you. It's not a bone, it's an arrow. Bone and arrow. The Silver Knight Great Bowman is here as well, and I hate these guys so much. I just want to chuck this guy into my yard and mow over him with the mower. That's my revenge! You'll never hurt anyone again! But I know it won't fix things. We still don't get our string. Mold the bowstring, you cowards. If it's going to be a great bow, especially. Like, I kind of understand if it's going to be one of those little dinky short bows, but come on. There's a pack of these mimics out there. You can just get the mimics. You can just get the mimics and add more mimics to your game. I don't know what masochist would want to do that. These guys already teach you the very valuable lesson in Dark Souls that when you find a chest, strike it. Strike it with your weapon and be prepared to have an out, just in case it grows legs, opens its mouth, because these guys are not easy. They suck. They come after you. They'll follow you for quite a bit. They have very powerful kicks. That sounds like a weird thing to say, but no, this guy's legs will launch you across the arena. In the video game, I can only assume that the board game counterpart is just as punishing. Dragon Slayer Ornstein. Dragon Slayer Ornstein. They put him in with these smaller sculpts, which almost feels like a crime against my boy here. He is found with Executioner Smough. Smough? I've never heard these guys' names actually spoken. I've always said Ornstein, but like looking at the word and knowing German convention, I get why that would be wrong. There were a lot of instances where Mr. Freeze from Batman, whose real name is Victor Freeze, well, that's not entirely correct. It should be Victor Fries. It really depends on how the creator of that particular comic or medium is spelling his name, but I was watching Gotham, and I can't remember if it was Harvey or Jim. One of them corrected the other. They're like, fries. And the first guy's like, what? And the second guy's like, yeah, it's fries. F-R-E-I-S. It's not freeze. What a coincidence that would be, huh? Showed you the dice without managing to talk about the dice at all, but as you can tell, there are 3 different power levels of dice here, with varying sword symbols ranging from none to 4, and frequency of successful faces, raising depending on the color of dice you are allowed to roll, which means that the weapons are going to have this sort of weapon upgrade system, and you are going to be able to develop your character by getting better pieces of armor and weaponry to be able to roll better dice. The green dice are dodge dice, and they have blank faces as well, obviously. What you see before you is actually all that's left in this box, which is another one of my Dark Souls games complaints. There's just not a lot of content here. When you look at Eric M. Lang's Bloodborne, I think Simon did that, right? That is a licensed adaptation that is not only lower priced in MSRP than Dark Souls by a lot, but it offers a ton more gameplay. I guess I shouldn't say that. This is 29 encounters, and each encounter apparently could take between 2 and 2.5 hours. I find that very, very difficult to believe. I think that there's probably an element of campaign structure in that 2 to 2.5 hours. Or maybe they are saying to play through all of the required encounters, it takes 2 to 2.5 hours. I don't know, you'll have to let me know, because I haven't played Dark Souls, the board game, any of them. You'll have to let me know. But these are how the encounters are set up, with the encounter name being here, followed by the set from which this encounter card is. So the sets are really useful. It means that you could probably buy multiples of the games, not multiples, but the different games, and shuffle these together, possibly. It really wouldn't make sense from any sort of lore perspective to draw an Anor Londo card from the Sunless City, and then go on to draw something from Tomb of the Giants. But you could just hand wave it. We've got different backs to these cards, which indicate maybe difficulty level. We've got 1 soul, 2 souls, great soul, bonfire. The bonfire cards are bosses. We're going to look at those bosses here shortly. But you'll have the enemies and terrain that will occur on the encounter, as well as the map that is used. The objective of the encounter, there's flavor text up here, which I really like. I don't think that was in the Painted World of Ariamis, this section. Could be wrong. It might have been, actually. The rewards and the special rules. Reduce the node model limit to 2. I'm pretty sure in this game, as many models as necessary can occupy the exact same node. You just got to kind of keep track if they all start crowding up on the same node on the board, whether or not they are on that node. Some of these have 2 boards pushed together. Some of these have 2 boards not pushed together. Some of these have 3 boards. An effect that I maintain could have been maintained with more appropriate board configurations and sizes in order to give us a deeper experience for Anor Londo, which deserves respect. Our treasure cards look like this, with the requirements to use said card, whether or not it is equipable, the set that it's from, the type of card that it is, the name of the card, the subtype of card. We have embers, we have blood gems, we have halberds, we have force, so we have prayers, we have miracles, we have armor, the giant's halberd, the parrying dagger. We have the block and resist and dodge values of the item, as well as upgrade slots at the bottom, and you have options for what you want to do with this weapon. Oh, the top left, I misspoke. This is actually the range of the weapon. 0 means you got to use it on an enemy in the same node. We've got another deck of mini cards here with the Northern Armor, Round Shield, Great Wooden Hammer, Night Slayer Ring, and so on until we get to Lothric's Holy Sword is here. You could absolutely make your own Dark Souls 2 or Dark Souls 3 game in a limited fashion, but a pretty deep fashion nonetheless, just by using all of the models available from the first Dark Souls board games. Yeah, speaking with redundancy, don't worry about that. The Immolation Tinder, the Great Combustion, Fire Surge, Great Swamp Ring, and it goes on and on. Eventually we get to event cards, such as Life Gem. During the next encounter, this character heals 1 damage at the start of each of their turns. At the end of the next encounter, discard this card. Green Blossom. During the next encounter, when this character runs, they can move any number of nodes without spending stamina. A Leering Skull, and so on, so forth. Forgotten Supplies, Martial Bonfire, Ascetic, Big Pilgrim's Key. This card counts as a shortcut. If this encounter gains a shortcut token, shuffle this card back into the deck. There are liberties taken with the narrative here in order to make it work with the game, but not a lot that I would say is specifically taken from the game itself, the game on which this is based. And that's kind of sad. Here's where our dice can go. I did say that I like this kind of candy tray best out of all of the board game trays that I have seen, because I like the matte finish. I like the big bulky areas where it's like, just put the thing down, it'll eventually fall into place, rather than having each bit of the miniature's musculature carved into the tray, forcing you to kind of pop it into place. We're going to look at the last few minis now, so come down here if you will. And this is the Tower Knight. No, this is not the tower, this is the Sentinel. Getting him confused really fast with the wrong enemy. The Tower Knight has a cheese, the Sentinel does not. I want to say it must have been a real challenge to try to adopt the mechanics of a Souls-like game into a board game. I know there are a lot of board games that have Souls-like mechanics, or at least they claim to, and some of them do. But they're not exactly Souls-like as much as they are roguelites. Souls-like does not mean roguelite, the two are not synonymous. We'll show you Smough next, and yeah, he's terrifying. I think he was the first of the two that I took down in the video game during their boss fight. I believe it was Ornstein that grew in size, yeah. And as he transformed, he took out my Phantom Helper, so I had to take him down super fast, or else he was just going to be a real problem. It took me a long time to get to the boss's second phase. It was not super fun for me. But the challenge of the game is what's supposed to be fun to begin with, but you know. By the way, his eyes are not where you think they are. They're actually down here in these neck blobs, which is pretty terrifying. This is just a scary sculpt. It's very disturbing. Doubtless, you will be fighting the pair of them together, and you will have to figure out how to take them down without dying. I showed you Smough because I wanted to save the Titanite Demon for last, because this, out of all the sculpts in the box, is my favorite sculpt. The Titanite Demons are kind of a pain in the neck. Not really a mob so much as they are in-place bosses out in the field. If you can take them down, you will get some really nice rewards, and they will not respawn. The kind of plastic he's made out of, it's just really nice. It's very sturdy. It doesn't feel brittle in any of the spots, and that's due to the sculpt itself. The video game sculpt, rather. All of the parts on this boy are very thick, very sturdy. He doesn't have any fiddly bits. You really need to take note, Games Workshop. You really need to understand the fiddly bits have got to go. Without fiddly bits, there's far less risk of things breaking off, little bits and bobs. You can see the rune etchings on his decapitated neck spot. His missing leg, this is not just a sculpt with liberties taken. He's actually missing the leg. He drags himself around. Occasionally he will leap up in the air. There's a lot of tail thwapping. By the way, the tail is really nicely done. It manages to convey huge distance, very threatening, but it's wrapped nicely kind of around the model base. It's not going to do a lot of encroachment, even though it has a really long weapon here. I don't know what to call this. It's not exactly a halberd or a scepter. It's like a duodent, you know, because trident or a bident. Bident would probably be the word, huh? In fact, isn't this a weapon you can get in the video game? Whee! Favorite sculpt by far. He is going to take up 3x3 tiles, although Dark Souls is not a board game that uses the tile conventionality, but if you wanted to use him in other games, for example, then yeah, that's how big this monster is going to be. A real boss monster size, not like those 1x2 weenies or those 2x2 tryhards. Last and probably least, we have some treasure cards, which, whoops, those are treasure chest cards. Here they are. Here they are. When you open these big treasure chests on the map, you'll either get a large soul reward or you will get a mimic. Love that mechanic. Don't mind that in the slightest. Ornstein and Smough both activate each turn. When Smough dies, Ornstein gains 10 health, and Ornstein's heat-up cards become the new behavior deck. Ornstein spawns on the main boss node. He has different moves because he is a boss, and he should be a little harder to predict. When you learn his moveset, you will be able to make more informed decisions about where to stand on the board in between attacks. When Ornstein dies, Smough gains 15 health, and Smough's heat-up cards become the new behavior deck. Smough spawns on the mini-boss node. Smough does a lot of moving around. You have to dodge Ornstein's ranged crap while you basically just dance around Smough and make sure to attack him from behind and keep your distance, because he's constantly rolling around and breaking columns and all that jazz. The Titanite construct from the Titanite demon means that if he suffers 3 or more damage from one attack roll, reduce the damage by 1, which is just so frustrating. We've got our enemy cards for the Crossbow Hollow, the Hollow Soldier, the Silver Knight Great Bowman, the Silver Knight Swordsman, the Mimic, and the Sentinel. They all look about the same, but the basic anatomy is the difficulty level, the starting health, what type of enemy or rather the icon for the enemy on your other cards, on the boards and stuff. The dodge difficulty, the order of operations, what set they're from, their resist and defend values, I think. And more or less, that's the entirety of the presentation. There's really just not a lot here, which is something that I've really whinged about this entire time. Yeah, 119 MSRP, it's just never happening for me, guys. I'm sorry, but $25, I will be there. I will be there all day long to take advantage of your overstock. You're tired, you're poor, you're hungry. Call me opportunistic, call me a vulture. There's a game software that I love that routinely goes on sale a few times a year, and it's like 80% off whenever it does, which means it drops down to like, it ends up being like, I don't know, $13 instead of the regular 60 or 70. So I always caution people, don't buy it at the 70. I mean, I want to support the developer as much as anybody else does, but if you're short on funds, don't push yourself into hardship. It's gonna go on sale again, and that's nobody's fault but the developers. Did we look at the tiles for this? Yeah, we really did not look at the tiles too much. For the tiles, we've got all of our souls, our skulls indicating wounds. We have our character boards, which we can punch out a lot of these symbols, but we don't want to punch these out. We actually want to keep these in because this will represent what you have leveled up into. The golden numbers are the stats that you have. Base for this character, the Pyromancer, for example, base 12 strength. If you want to level up into tier 1 strength, the first opportunity you get to spend your souls at a bonfire, you will do that. You'll punch this out, you'll flip it over. It says 17 on the other side as well, but it's golden. So you will now know at a glance by looking at your upgraded character board that you have 17 strength, 9 dexterity, 14 intelligence, and 14 faith. The next time you level up, choose a stat. If it's going to be intelligence, you will increase that by 7 whole points. But it's a trade-off. Is that the way you want your build to go? It's going to be a lot harder to level up after that. So make your choice. Are you going to be more of a faith build where you sink 5 points into faith, or, you know, however many souls and get 5 points back? Whatever your choice is, you'll punch that token out, flip it over, and put it back in. And it's going to say the same thing, but it's going to be golden. And now at a glance, again, you'll be able to see exactly what stats you have for that character. It is a convoluted, perhaps, way of doing it, and yet it works. There are slots for the left hand, armor, backup, and right hand cards for your character, as well as their starting gear, I would assume, or perhaps tokens will go on these as stacks. I do not know yet because I don't know how to play this game. But the Sunless City, I think I've already talked about the upgraded rules. I'm going to be very curious to take this book and compare it to the Painted World of Ariamis book to see exactly what all has changed. The turn order is the same with all enemies taking turns, but when it's the player's turn, just one of the players goes. Then it's all the enemies, then the other player, then all the enemies, then the other player. Players will win a game of Dark Souls, the Sunless City, if Dragonslayer, Ornstein, and Executioner Smough are killed. In order to reach them, you'll need to complete several encounters as you fight your way to the Great Cathedral. But that won't be easy. If the party is defeated during an encounter, all is not lost. The players return to their characters, to the bonfire, and can try again. But the players can't do this indefinitely. Each time they return to the bonfire, they use up a spark. And if the spark dial has reached 0, the players return to the bonfire, they lose the game. The fire has burned too low and they are forever lost to the darkness. I don't like that myself. I think they should just turn hollow, and it should just be a permanently hollow, which means permanent debuffs. Still technically able to win if you try really hard, or just hope RNG favors you with card draws from the equivalent of the Marching Orders deck. But all in all, that is Sunless City, a core set of Dark Souls, the board game, which should be compatible with all previous sets. And well worth this $25. I don't know what your local store is actually going to charge for it. I've been bringing up the MSRP of $120 throughout the video, but that may not be what anybody actually charges for it. Sometimes these things have prices that are a bit inflated, but who knows? You get to decide what's worth any amount of money to you. At the end of the day, I'm just here to make you aware of certain things that might make your life a little bit easier. Things such as sales. Don't get Bard Sung for more than $50. Thank you very much, Brave Hollows, for enduring with me thus far. I will see you in the next exciting journey. Until then, farewell for now.